days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. That time of the year where we start talking about training camp battles. And there are several positions where there's probably more spots up for grabs than there has been in past years. And of course, we've went through this whole entire process so far during the offseason. We've looked at the depth charts. We looked at some of the key battles that could happen because we have bubble players. And now it's time to get hyper-focused on what those training camp battles look like and who we expect to come out on top. Now, this is one of the things that always gets me excited about training camp is the fact that you're going to have players going out there and potentially battling for spots. There's nothing given in the NFL, and there's nothing given for a team that went 6-11 last year. So the 49ers are going in this with fresh, open eyes. A lot of that is because they have a new defensive coordinator in Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh doesn't have the same connections to some of these players that maybe previous coaches would have. He's not the one that was a part of their drafting. He's a guy that's coming in with his own mindset, his own defense, and he's looking for players that are going to go out there and compete and potentially fit in his defense. So when looking at the cornerback room, it's pretty complex. There are several key new elements to the 49ers secondary, and especially at cornerback. The 49ers are trying to figure out not just who is going to be out there on their sub packages, but who is going to fill out the depth of this team. There's many factors that go into that. It's not just, oh, this guy's better than that guy, so he's going to make the team. Yes, that is the case for the most part. But sometimes guys are so razor thin that you make a decision like, well, Brant Boyer wants him for special teams. And so right now, these guys are so close, we could go either way, and Boyer signs off and says, I need him on special teams. You decide to go with player A instead of player B. So those things still figure in. So we're going to make sure that that figures into our formula too when we're talking about these battles. But everything is going to matter. When the 49ers get out there in a little over 4 weeks for training camp, they are going to be consistently battling in everything they do. Every rep is going to be under hyper-focus. Every single snap under hyper-focus. How quickly do you pick things up? How quickly do you do all of the technical things that you need to do? Because if you're doing it good technically, you're probably going to be more consistent. But also, what does that show out on the field? Now, a couple other things that are going to be very important, maybe even more important than preseason games for deciding who is going to be on this 49ers 53-man roster is going to be joint practices. And the 49ers right now, it looks like they're going to have 2 joint practices, one with the Denver Broncos and then one with the Las Vegas Raiders. So if you're doing joint practices like that, that is when you can really set up how you take looks at certain guys, how you put them in certain situations. And that's where you're going to get the best idea of how these guys are going to make the team. So I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to talk about all the 49ers cornerbacks and the battles that are going to happen, because there's even a couple here that 3 weeks ago we wouldn't have thought was a battle, but then John Lynch's comments kind of threw out that, hey, this is probably more of a battle than we were even thinking about. So buckle in and get ready for this episode. Like always, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you've got comments and thoughts throughout the episode, leave them in the comment section. I always love to read what you have to say about each topic and which players you think are going to win these battles. It's going to be a blast. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Belief Network, give it a 5-star rating if that is something you would like to do. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you are going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online continues to be the number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball season in full swing and football season around the corner, Bet Online has more ways to stay in on the action, the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From MLB to UFC and tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. Bet online, the game starts here. So I went through the 49ers depth chart, in recent videos. You can go back and check that out. And we talked about how these guys are slated. But now we've got to talk about the individual matchups that are going to happen. And sometimes it's not just one versus one, but it's, one versus one versus one. It's a triple threat type situation. And that's what I'm looking at in this. Now, the first matchup that I'm going to start with, that is a training camp battle, is going to involve the nickel corner position. So we know we got Deommodore Lenoir. He's going to play outside corner. More than likely, Renardo Green is going to play outside. Now, the thought process had been over the last two seasons, 2023 and 2024, that Deommodore Lenoir would move inside on obvious pass downs, and a third cornerback would come in. When the San Francisco 49ers signed Trey Brown from the Seattle Seahawks in free agency, the thought process was Trey Brown slides in as the third corner and Deommodore Lenoir moves in. Now, recent comments from Kyle Shanahan about the fact that he would prefer Deommodore Lenoir to stay on the outside, coupled with Deommodore Lenoir saying he believes he's going to stay on the outside, means that it's probably more of a competition for the nickel corner spot, which is a little bit of a change of direction. So when finding who's going to be that third corner when the 49ers go to their sub package, which is when teams go into their 11 personnel and you put a nickel out there, who that nickel corner is going to be very significant, because we've seen the 49ers try to find this guy in a young player. We've even seen them try to sign a veteran, a guy like Isaiah Oliver, that just didn't work out. He's a little bit slow, couldn't change direction very quick, and he got burned a little bit, and that was a problem for the 49ers. So finding a nickel corner is going to be one of the key elements to this training camp battle season. And Upton Stout is definitely right in the mix. The San Francisco 49ers drafted him in the third round, which means they have high hopes for what Upton Stout could be. And I think the similarities and seeing how his build, his change of direction, the way he blitzes, the way he comes up and hits you in the run game, I think remind me very much of Shark at K'Wan Williams. And so when you look at Robert Saleh and what he had before, having a player like Upton Stout play the nickel makes a lot of sense. But John Lynch's recent comments said that they saw Trey Brown as a potential versatile guy who could play outside and could play the nickel. He said, we like him in the nickel. So that means that there's probably going to be more of a competition between these two guys than originally thought. We thought Trey Brown was an outside guy, but now he's got the versatility to play inside. According to John Lynch, at least that's what they're going to give him a chance to go out and prove. Now, Upton Stout during OTAs, during minicamp, is getting a lion's share of the snaps at nickel. And we're going to see a steady rotation of nickel corners. The 49ers have several guys that can do it. There's one thing they're not missing is those guys that have the ability to play inside. So the 49ers battle on the inside probably starts with Upton Stout and Trey Brown. And the goal of the San Francisco 49ers is for Upton Stout to win this position. But this has been tough for a rookie. Deommodore Lenoir could not win the nickel corner spot in his rookie season. He couldn't. Sam Womack did win it, but then lost it 1.5 games in. So this has been a little bit of a struggle for rookie corners. In fact, last year, the 49ers conversation was, we're going to start Renardo Green on the inside. We're going to let Renardo Green play nickel corner. We're a week into training camp, and all of a sudden, Renardo Green was playing more outside than he was inside. So this is just a tough position to be able to play. Your attention to detail has to be on point. Not just is it more difficult in coverage, because there's a lot more space for you to be able to cover. You're in on the hash mark, which means there's more room to the outside. It means they can go all the way across the field. You've got to be able to guard against that. You don't have a sideline to be able to use to your advantage the way an outside corner can. So playing with leverage is important, but you've also got to be able to play like linebacker type role. So you've got to sometimes keep an inside leverage, which gives them the ability to get a free release to the outside, which can be a little bit of a problem. So you've got to know your role as a cornerback, but also know your role as far as run fits. Stepping up, having a cutback lane, coming up, and being able to set an edge in the run game are very impactful. Filling a hole is something that it's tough for nickel corners to do. Now, Upton Stout's got the ability, and I think that Trey Brown does too. So what the 49ers really have is a veteran option and a rookie option. And I talked about Upton Stout really having being the one they want to win this role. But make no mistake about it. The 49ers are not going into the season just looking to get their rookies ready. They also want to win. So if Trey Brown is the more consistent player, they're going to give it to him. So let's talk about the contrast between the two guys. First off, Upton Stout is very physical. This dude comes up, he hits you, he's very physical at the point of attack, has no problems making tackles, is sticky in coverage. There's some things to like about what Upton Stout can do. Now, when you look at Trey Brown, I feel like he's less physical. His tackling is more like he just goes for the legs. He knocks your legs out from under you. There's lack of physicality compared to Upton Stout. I think that's an advantage Upton Stout has over Trey Brown. But when you look at Trey Brown, he has a lot more experience. He's played in a Seattle defense that, especially when he was drafted by Pete Carroll, has similarities to what Robert Saleh wants to do in his defense. So these zones, the bail technique, some of the things that he's going to be asked to do, he's going to feel a little bit more comfortable with. The scheme, he's going to feel a little bit more comfortable with what the expectations are for coverage concepts. He's also going to be able to pick up route concepts a little bit easier that opposing teams are going to throw at him because he's been in the division and he's played in the league for 5 years. So those types of things are advantage Trey Brown. He's a quick change of direction. So is Upton Stout. He's got enough speed to run vertically. So does Upton Stout. So there are some similarities between the two and what they provide. I think what the difference is going to be between Trey Brown and Upton Stout, in Trey Brown's category, it has to come with the ability that he's had to play in this league. He's got experience, and experience often will give you a head start, an advantage of knowing what to do. When it comes to Upton Stout, he's got an advantage when it comes to playing more physical and being better in run fits. And I think he's going to be that for the 49ers. So you've got a really good battle at the nickel corner spot. And I'm really curious to see who can win this. And the 49ers are going to give every opportunity to Upton Stout to go win this. I think he's going to get a lot of reps at training camp. I think we're going to hear some good things about what he's doing out there. So this is going to be one of the key battles for the 49ers, because if Upton Stout wins this battle, that means that they are locked in at cornerback for the next several years. You got Deommodore Lenoir under contract. He just got the new deal. You got Renardo Green for another 3 seasons, and you'd have Upton Stout for 4. You have your cornerback room figured out. But the 49ers also now, because they have Trey Brown, have a little bit of versatility. And they have, hey, if Upton Stout's not ready to go week 1, we don't have to thrust him out there. We can wait a little bit. He can wait until he's ready to go. Is that 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks? It gives you a little bit of flexibility. And the good thing about Trey Brown is he can also play outside corner. And I think this is where you get kind of I talked about competition between multiple guys. Trey Brown's not just competing against Upton Stout for nickel. The Upton Stout is kind of just thrust into the nickel role. That's going to be his job. Trey Brown has got to be a versatile player for this 49ers secondary because he's a depth piece. So he's got to be able to play and compete with Upton Stout on the inside, but also compete with Darrell Luter Jr. on the outside. Because Darrell Luter Jr. is in a make-or-break season for the San Francisco 49ers. He's got to figure this thing out. So far, he and Trey Brown are similar in the fact that they have been having a career that's been marred by injuries. Trey Brown has missed a lot of games in his career. And so has Darrell Luter Jr. In fact, Darrell Luter Jr., we haven't really seen him play too many defensive snaps. We've seen him play special team snaps. Hasn't been real good. He's made some big mistakes. Last year, he took out Jacob Cowing. We all know what happened in the Super Bowl. So it has been a mixed bag for Darrell Luter Jr. And I think there's been a lot of optimism on the former 5th-round pick. A lot of people were extremely high on Darrell Luter Jr., some thrusting him into potentially a starting role over the last 2 years. But it's never materialized. It has never happened for him. And now he's got a situation where he was injured in OTAs and minicamp, didn't really get a lot of reps. So now he's coming into training camp and he has to go out there and prove it because the 49ers have added players that could potentially take away his depth. Because I talked about Brant Boyer earlier. Brant Boyer is going to be significant in deciding who makes the back end of this roster when it comes to each defensive position, especially cornerback. We just talked about Darrell Luter Jr.'s lack of ability when it came to playing special teams. So this is not an element to his game that he excels at. And so other players that are on this roster, they do excel at special teams. And that could put a little bit of a bullseye on Darrell Luter Jr. So he needs to make it happen when it comes to playing cornerback. Because if he plays better than Trey Brown, he really lights it up and shows that he's the third best outside corner behind Renardo Green and De'Amari Lenore. He will make this football team. Special teams won't outweigh that. You got to be better, though, than the guys that are around you. So this is going to be a significant battle. And John Lynch talked about the versatility of Trey Brown, and that's all good. And that does help you make this football team because if you can have a player that can play outside and in, he's more important to your football team, right? He has more versatility. We talk about this with the offensive line as well than a guy that just plays one position. So if you're playing just one position like Darrell Luter Jr., you better do it really well. Now, there's lots of things to like about Darrell Luter Jr. Over 6 foot tall, over 200 pounds, can really run. He's got good length. So you've got a guy that shows the natural physical traits to be able to play the position. What we haven't seen is him be able to show that he can be consistent in coverage, him show that he could, play the concepts of the defense consistently, and that he's going to be pushed to the limit on. So this is going to be another interesting element to it. Trey Brown has got to deal with Upton Stout in the nickel, and I think he'll get some reps in there. But then when he plays outside, he needs to outplay Darrell Luter Jr. And Darrell Luter Jr. needs to excel in a couple of areas in this training camp battle. Number one, he has to show Robert Saleh that when it comes to press coverage, there's going to be times that Robert Saleh is going to want to run press man coverage. He's got to show the ability to do it. He's literally built for this, right? Trey Brown, we know he can play press man. He played press man a lot at Seattle. We know that he can run the bail technique and play the cover three. We've seen it in Seattle. We know he can play quarters. We've seen it in Seattle. Darrell Luter Jr., we haven't seen it consistently in any aspect of his game. But when we get to press man coverage, Darrell Luter Jr. needs to be on point. He needs to make sure these receivers aren't able to get free releases. He's got to make sure he's redirecting guys. Then when he gets into his zone, I want to see more comfort from him, understanding route concepts. I want to see a guy that's reading through the wide receiver to the quarterback and is not just guarding space, but is guarding a man in space. And you might ask, Ant, what does that mean? Well, when you're in zone coverage, there's a lot of guys who don't have the feel. And so they'll get into their zone and they won't move. And a lot of times someone will pass to their zone and they just stay put. And it's like, no, flow with that guy. Cover men in your zone. And if you understand concepts, hey, okay, this is going to be the dig route. This is going to be, this route. And then I'm going to go right here. But a lot of times what happens is they don't understand concepts. So they're just guarding space and they're not guarding guys in space. And so that's going to be one of the key things that I haven't seen from Darrell Luter Jr. in the limited amount of snaps that I've been able to see him, whether that was in training camp or during the preseason or in mop-up duty a couple years ago. So those are elements to his game. He's going to have better feel because he's got to show he can play press man. He's got to show he can feel comfortable in zone, and he's got to make some plays on the football. Physical traits are there, but physical traits aren't going to get you where you need to go. So it's going to be very important for Darrell Luter Jr. I don't think they've given up on Darrell Luter Jr., but it's getting to that point right now where there hasn't been production. Been a little bit of a problem when it comes to special teams. Now, Darrell Luter Jr.'s problem is there are other guys who play outside corner. So we talked about the versatility of Trey Brown. He can compete in two areas. But then there are the guys who just play outside, right? Last year, 49ers had Isaac Yedem. They had Rock Yassin. Those guys were just outside corners. And you want to have those guys on your team as well. And so Darrell Luter Jr. is going to be locked into a battle with just outside corners. So Trey Brown probably has an advantage of Darrell Luter Jr. in the fact he can do both. that will give him a great opportunity to be cornerback 3. But cornerback 4 and 5 could be determined a couple of ways. It could be two just plain outside corners that could fill in for Renardo Green and Deommodore Lenoir if needed, or they could go one of those just outside corners and another versatile guy. So the 49ers have some options, and they still have 6 cornerbacks. We haven't really talked about it. I know we talked about Darrell Luter Jr., but 5 other ones that are on the list. And it starts with Darrell Luter Jr. versus Dallas Flowers versus Trey Avery. And this is going to be a interesting one because I've brought up Dallas Flowers before because I do believe he's got a real shot to make this football team. When you look at the characteristics that he has and the fact that he played for defensive assistant Gus Bradley, you've got a player that very much looks a lot like Darrell Luter Jr. He's tall, he's long, he's athletic, and those things really play. Now, his advantage over Darrell Luter Jr., this is what Darrell Luter Jr. is going to run into with a lot of guys, is Dallas Flowers has played football on the field in the NFL, right? Darrell Luter Jr. hasn't had many snaps. Dallas Flowers started 4 games before he tore his Achilles in 2023. He was having a pretty good season as well. Gave up no touchdowns. So what you've got in another experienced cornerback who's experienced playing in a like system. Trey Brown played for Seattle, a like system. You got Dallas Flowers playing for the Colts in a like system, playing for Gus Bradley. And I say like because Robert Saleh definitely does things a little bit differently than his counterparts, Pete Carroll or even Gus Bradley, who's on his coaching staff. But there are some things that are the same, right? You can see the zone coverage, the cover 3, the cover 4, what they're able to do, their feel for it. And all you have to do is go watch my breakdown over on Patreon of Dallas Flowers, and you will see right away he has a good feel in zone coverage. Got a good bail technique, but what he's got the ability to do is read the quarterback and understand when he needs to sag and take out a over-the-top route and when he needs to drive on a play underneath. And the way I talked about Darrell Luter Jr. not knowing when to carry guys through the zone, Dallas Flowers does. He'd carry the guy at an inside slant, then feel the quarterback looking for a corner route over the top and get that sag and drop, and then be able to make a play on the football. It's impressive when you see some of the plays that he makes. So you know it's inside of him. Now, the question marks for Dallas Flowers when competing with Darrell Luter Jr. have less to do with experience and less to do with his feel and zone coverage, which I think are definitely above Darrell Luter Jr.'s abilities right now. But it comes down to what is his speed like? Because he used to be really fast. He used to change direction and drive on the football extremely well, but he tore his Achilles in 2023. Last year when he came back for training camp, he wasn't the same. He couldn't stay in that competition, and in fact, they ended up deciding to move on from him, allowing him to leave and going ahead and picking up Samuel Womack from the 49ers. So he went to Tampa Bay, and they were even struggling with him. So it usually takes 18 months to get back from an Achilles injury. So question marks about Dallas Flowers are going to be that. But Gus Bradley thought enough of him to put him on the 49ers radar and bring him in. So I think that is something to remember when we're talking about Dallas Flowers is they understand what he could be. So his competition is going to be interesting with Darrell Luter Jr. Now, Trey Avery's been having a pretty good offseason. There's been lots of really good conversation about what he could be. And he's another guy that's kind of in that 6 foot, 195 pounds, 200 pound range that's been around for a little bit. That can go out there and compete. That has a little bit of an understanding of how to play in zone coverage. Spent time in Tennessee. So he's played for some good coaches. So we're going to have a competition for this outside corner spot. And if Trey Brown can show his ability to play inside and out, I think that's really going to help him make this football team. And I think John Lynch believes he can. So he might even start at nickel. But that means that you're going to have a competition between these 3 guys for one of those outside corner spots to back up. Who's it going to be? Darrell Luter Jr., the guy that you don't want to give up on, Dallas Flowers, who was Gus Bradley's guy, or Trey Avery, who you signed and you've been seeing what you can get out of him. I think that is going to be one of the most interesting battles in training camp, and I think it could come down to special teams, which is a scary thought for Darrell Luter Jr. He's going to have to get a lot better. Now, it could be that it was Brian Snyder's fault and he never developed Darrell Luter Jr. Always possible. But Brant Boyer's going to figure that out real quick. And if it comes down to Darrell Luter Jr., Trey Avery, and Dallas Flowers for special teams, I give the edge to Dallas Flowers. A guy with kick return upside who returned a kick for a touchdown for the Colts, a guy that's averaged over 30 yards per return in his career as a kickoff return specialist. Somebody that definitely, fits the mold for a position the 49ers are needing and a change of field position type guy. So that will be his advantage in this competition. Now, next up comes down to three more guys. And I said that there were some interesting battles. There are three guys who are versatile at the end of this roster. So those other guys we just talked about, Luter, Flowers, and Avery, are all outside corners. The next three guys we're going to talk about have the versatility to play outside and in. And that is undrafted free agent Jacob Robinson out of BYU. And he's somebody that we've all been super high on, a 4'3" guy. Now he's a little bit more undersized. He's about 181 pounds, and that was him putting on 10 pounds during the process. Derek Canteen, who's a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical, well-traveled, been around a little bit, Georgia Southern, Cincinnati, Virginia Tech. He was around a little bit, but a guy that is very physical, not as quick as a guy like Jacob Robinson, doesn't have the change of direction like Jacob Robinson, but he comes up and he smacks you. So that's something that he could definitely, add to a nickel corner spot. It's a little bit more physicality, a little bit more of a big nickel type role. And then Chase Lucas, who the 49ers were high on last year, brought him in. He had spent time with the Detroit Lions, but a former Herm Edwards guy at Arizona State. So 49ers have always gotten reports from Herm Edwards. And so Chase Lucas last year was pretty exclusive in the nickel last year, all through training camp and the preseason. This year, we've heard a lot more versatility. They might play him some on the outside as well. We'll see how that plays out. But Jacob Robinson, Derek Canteen are guys who are undrafted free agents, but have shown the ability to play outside corner and step in and play the nickel. So these guys are going to be competing. And this is where I talked about earlier. You keep two outside corners to go along with Trey Brown and Upton Stout, right? Are you going to keep 5 corners or 6? That's going to be the question. If you keep 6, and we'll say that for this conversation, if you keep 6, you've got De'Amaro Lenore and Renardo Green. Those guys are locks. Upton Stout is a lock. That's 3. Trey Brown, I don't think he's a lock, but I think his versatility might be too much to overlook. There's your 4th guy, and his ability to play nickel and outside is huge. So who do you keep as cornerback 5 or cornerback 6? Do you keep a Flowers because he can play special teams? Or you look at one of these young guys, Jacob Robinson, Derek Canteen, or Chase Lucas, about maybe keeping them because they have versatility like Trey Brown, and you just want versatility all over the place. This is going to be one of the key battles. I also believe it's a battle to see who makes the practice squad. And that might not seem too sexy, all right? Everyone wants to make the 53-man roster, and I believe these guys got a shot. But last year, Chase Lucas was on the 49ers practice squad the whole year. I think the 49ers are looking at these guys, and they've got a little bit of an understanding that these guys might be a year or two away, right? An NFL body away in Jacob Robinson's case. Now, I do believe Jacob Robinson is going to turn some heads. This guy finds the football, and I think that there's an outside chance that he could end up being a 5th cornerback for the 49ers or a 6th cornerback, especially if they decide to keep 6. I think that Jacob Robinson's in the mix. I like his film. He finds the football. Derek Canteen does as well. But Robinson shows the change of direction that's a little bit better than Canteen. He's got a little bit more instincts when it comes to coverage. He's also got a little bit of a connection to the 49ers coaching staff with Ray Brown. They stayed in contact after Robinson left Utah State. So there's something there as well. And they wanted Jacob Robinson very, very bad. Derek Canteen is interesting because he came to the 49ers rookie tryouts, and he made the team off that, which is impressive because it doesn't always happen. But I think they're looking for somebody that can show the versatility to play outside and in to eventually replace Trey Brown. So you bring in Trey Brown on a 1-year deal. Now, can you get a guy that you can develop that next year he can be the Trey Brown for your football team? You're fully going into it next year expecting it to be Renardo Green, De'Amaro Lenore, Upton Stout. That's your starting cornerback room. And then you'd love to have somebody that could step in that's homegrown for that Trey Brown position. That way you don't have to pay a free agent. And Jacob Robinson, Derek Canteen are two guys that could potentially do it. Now, I don't want to count out Chase Lucas, but I think it is a little bit tougher. Like, that's why I didn't talk a whole lot about Trey Avery. When you have a guy that's been in the league for a while and not really had many opportunities to start football games and couldn't even make a 53-man roster last year. With Dallas Flowers, he made a 53-man roster last year going to Tampa Bay. He started 4 games, a little bit different scenario when talking about a veteran. So remember that. Now, let's compare Robinson to Canteen a little bit more. I talked about the physical traits. I do believe that Jacob Robinson has a little bit better feel in zone coverage and a little bit better man techniques. There is times Derek Canteen allows too much separation between him and the wide receiver, and I wonder how that's going to look in the NFL if these receivers are going to be able to create separation. Canteen does it more off physicality, which I worry about some of the penalties in the NFL. Get away with some of those things in college, but can't get away with those things in the NFL. More hyper, looks from these referees, and it's just going to be a little bit of a different game for Derek Canteen. So that's going to be one of the question marks for him. And how does Chase Lucas make this team? Chase Lucas has just got to be solid. When he's asked to play nickel, he's got to go tear it up. When he's asked to play outside, he's got to tear it up. Special teams, same thing. And for Jacob Robinson and Derek Canteen, they're also going to have to show up on special teams. Can they be a gunner? Can they return a punt? Those are going to be key elements. So these are the training camp battles for the 49ers at cornerback. The main one, Upton Stout versus Trey Brown. The winner will start at nickel. That's going to be key. Then after that, Trey Brown versus Darrell Luter Jr. to see who is going to be cornerback 4 for this football team. Now, of course, Trey Brown could be 3, and Upton Stout could be 4, but that is going to be a competition to watch. And if Darrell Luter Jr. doesn't win that competition, that will thrust him into a bubble situation, which I believe he is on the bubble, between him, Flowers, and Avery to see if they even have a chance to make this team. Then you've got the upstart battle, Robinson versus Canteen versus Lucas. And one of those guys elevate themselves above the other. Maybe they will take themselves to a chance to compete for a 6th cornerback spot on this football team because of versatility, that a guy like Darrell Luter Jr. and Trey Avery and Dallas Flowers don't have to play outside and in. That's going to be a conversation. I think those guys are probably competing for a practice squad spot just to keep it real. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping Jacob Robinson or Derek Canteen go out there and just tear it up. And we're like, yes, another undrafted free agent, another Emmanuel Mosley type guy that can step in and make some plays. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to training camp. I think it's going to be great, battles all across the board. And I'm really going to be watching the Trey Brown versus Upton Stout battle when I get out to training camp. It's going to be a blast. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.